Let overreaction season begin. Welcome to the Postgame Show presented by Ricoh. I'm Chris McPherson alongside former Eagles linebacker Ike Reese. Yes, the Eagles lost to the New England Patriots by a score of 37-20. Let's calm things down a little bit. It is preseason after all, not what you wanted to see out of the starters tonight, but still some good things to take away. But overall, Ike, your big picture thoughts on what you saw from the Eagles this evening?
Some good things, obviously some bad things. I know Coach Pederson, once he gets a chance to look at the film, even when he gets a chance to speak on it, coaches, they are perfectionists, right? You know, Doug talked about prior to the game cleaning up a lot of the sloppy play, the turnovers, the sacks, the penalties, more importantly. I think some of those things still remained in the second game. I think positives you can take out of the game. I thought Nate Sudfeld played better this week. Pressed in the play a little bit sooner with Nick going out early in the game, but I thought he handled it pretty well. I thought Shelton Gibson, for the second week in a row, opportunity to play out there at the wide receiver position, couple guys down, made the most of all of his opportunities tonight. When the ball was thrown to him, he made plays, even had a nice kickoff return in the first half as well. The things they got to get better at, obviously, is pass protection. This is pretty much the offensive line that played in the Super Bowl.
That's the biggest surprise, I think, coming out tonight.
And the way this offensive line played down the stretch, they really were the unsung heroes of why the offense had so much success late in the year last year. And for them to come out, not just last week, but this week as well, and not really have things shored up. The good thing is it's preseason, couple weeks of practice into this thing. They got a few weeks before you got to get ready for Atlanta Falcons on Thursday night to open up the season. Certainly things that can be cleaned up. No major injuries tonight. Couple tweaks with some guys, some hamstrings or things. Pretty sure they'll let us know the extent of some of those injuries. But all in all, I think when the coaches look at the tape tonight or the video tonight on the way home, they have a lot that they can throw at these players next week to let them know we're not there yet. Forget about what you're reading. Forget about what you're hearing about last year. This is a new year, and we still got a lot of work to do in order to be where we want to be at the end of the season.
That what makes you wonder, how much did the Patriots look forward to this game to say, you know what, you guys beat us in the Super Bowl. It's not going to be revenge per se, but we're going to take it to you tonight, and they certainly did. They brought the energy, the aggressiveness. They were more physical than the Eagles tonight. They were more disciplined than the Eagles tonight, and they out-executed the Eagles tonight from top to bottom. So last week against the Steelers, you felt pretty good because the starters on both sides of the ball came out playing pretty well. Well, tonight that wasn't the case. The Eagles got off to a sloppy start and really were never able to get any traction going whatsoever. But, Ike, you talked about the offensive line. I think really we're looking at the tackle position, the left tackle position, with Big V, Halapoulivaati, Vaitai struggling tonight. At the one sack that he allowed on Adrian Claiborne, where Nick Foles went to throw the football. The ball was fumbled and it was returned by the Patriots for a touchdown there. That's one thing that you're surprised to see because Vaitai played so well, especially in the playoffs. As you mentioned, the cohesiveness of this unit was so strong down the stretch, and that's the reason the Eagles succeeded. It was intriguing to see the way things unfolded tonight, but to me, it's a blip on the radar. It's a speed bump in the road. It's something the Eagles, like you said, can learn from and move forward as they get ready for their final two preseason games. But you do have to remember, you're expecting Jason Peters to be back in the lineup. It'll be interesting to see whether or not he plays in the preseason to shake off some of the rust since he hasn't played at all, Ike, since last October.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if he's out there, C-Mac. I think Jason Peters in the league in his 15th season, future Hall of Famer, has nothing to prove. As long as he's getting the reps out there every day in practice, I'm fine with Jason Peters. He's going to have to preserve that body so that he can be at his best. He's coming off a major injury last year, and I'm sure he wants to be around for all 16 games plus this season. Have no issue with Jason Peters. A little surprised that Vaitai seems to have taken a little bit of a step back, but what we've known about Big V through his short career is that he can go through stints of where he looks like he's a starting left tackle in this league, but then there's also a game or two where he falls into some old habits and where he's not being fundamentally sound.
That's what's a surprising thing to me is, especially there was one sack he allowed later in the game where you see him lunging forward with his body, just getting completely off balance, and that's what we didn't see from Vaitai last season. So again, you get this kind of blip on the radar out of the way now in the preseason. You get yourself focused and harnessed back and ready for the regular season, because Vaitai was such an integral part of why the Eagles won the Super Bowl. But as Ike mentioned, it's important to remember that that's all in the past now. Okay, this was a good litmus test for the Eagles tonight to see the Patriots. They're going to be one of the best teams in the league again. The Eagles want to remain at that high level, and they have to understand that every team is going to bring it to the Eagles each and every week. You're going to see this type of attitude, this type of aggressiveness. So we see there Shelton Gibson catching a touchdown pass from Nate Sudfeld. Nate Sudfeld, 3 touchdown passes on the afternoon. This is the one to Richard Rodgers, a beautiful throw where he quite honestly put it up for grabs, put it on a dime. Here's the one down the sideline to Shelton Gibson. Another big pass here. Just the touch that he has shown through these first 2 preseason games, especially on the deep ball, has been tremendous. So when you're looking for bright spots from tonight, certainly Nate Sudfeld's development, especially as he had to come into emergency action after Foles came to the sideline, suffered the shoulder strain, was thankfully looked at in the medical tent, came back out and watched the rest of the game from the sideline. He didn't have to go into the locker room for any additional treatment. We'll hear more from head coach Doug Pederson in a little bit, but still great to see Sudfeld rush into action and being able to produce for a second straight week. 2 touchdowns in the first game, 3 touchdown passes here this evening.
Yeah, I tell you, each week you get to watch Nate Sudfeld more and more. You start to become a little bit more of a believer in his skill set. You understand what the coaches in this front office scouting department saw in Nate Sudfeld and the reason of bringing him in
How
late
did
last
Washington
year.
not see this?
Well, here's
That's
the thing.
One thing for me.
Well, here's the thing that I love. This team is about developing quarterbacks. That's a part of the Andy Reid tree. You know, that's something Doug learned under Andy. They know how to recognize certain skill sets, certain tools, traits that they like in young quarterbacks. And once they get them in their system, they feel like they can develop them. And he's been here the entire offseason because of the injuries to Carson Wentz and Nick Foles and being limited in practice. Nate Sudfeld is getting a lot of reps. So he's getting more and more comfortable with his surroundings. The stage doesn't look too big for him. He had to play last week. First time the defending champ stepped on the field. It's Nate Sudfeld who's leading the squad. Coming into this game, they know they're going up against the Patriots. He wants to perform well, and I thought he took advantage of his opportunities. Obviously, threw the ball an awful lot when you get behind the way the Eagles did tonight. You're trying to put points on the board. But when I just watch him from a fundamental standpoint, he doesn't look like he's aborting what the coaches are trying to teach him. They're trying to teach him to be a good pocket quarterback. I remember Sudfeld at Indiana, me being a former Spartan. I watched him play in college, and he makes a lot of plays that are off schedule. He's a I would say, an athlete that people don't expect to be as good as he is on the edges with the football. And he showed you tonight that he can escape and extend plays at times, but he has a big enough body to stand in the pocket and make all the throws you need him to make. And I thought he did that tonight. He was under siege. I mean, he was getting hit from left and right. He didn't look like he panicked in the pocket, didn't throw the ball up for grabs. And that's what you want to see from a young quarterback. Once they start getting hit, they start losing all the things that they're taught throughout the week. I thought Nate did a great job of hanging in there, leading the troops, put some scores on the board, took advantage of some nice throws down the field where he saw guys open, giving them an opportunity to make plays. You're talking about a guy who has an opportunity to have a long career in this league. We'll see whether or not it's as a starter or a valuable backup in this league. And so I thought Nate showed some real promise tonight.
It's interesting when you talk to the players in the locker room. Lane Johnson is certainly in Nate Sudfeld's corner as someone who can ascend to do great things in this league. Mac Hollins referred to him as a possible MVP in this league. And I know that might be a little
way overboard.
That's a little bit overboard, yes. But certainly you love the way that he can throw the ball on the run. You love the way that what's important about getting these reps here is last week when he threw the 1 interception early against the Steelers, he didn't recognize the defense right away, was confused by it. That's something that you're going to need to do in game action. You're not going to be able to learn that so much in practice each and every week. He's been saying the same Jim Schwartz defense over and over and over again for the last couple of weeks in training camp. He needs to see different schemes thrown at him, see what kind of blitzes and change-up defensive coordinators are going to do, and you're going to need that in regular season or preseason game action. So it's so valuable what he's getting right now during this time. This basically has been the summer of Nate Sudfeld for the Eagles to see what he can be. Can he be a long-term backup to Carson Wentz? Could he be a possible developmental starter for another team? Who knows? The biggest thing is the Eagles need to get him the experience, and he is growing and learning each and every week. You look at the stat sheet. Yes, he had 3 touchdowns and the interception, but it was a perfectly thrown ball to Matt Jones on the run. Matt Jones, it clanked off his helmet and was picked off by the Patriots defender. So certainly the interception wasn't his fault. And you can argue the one last week to Treggs, the ball thrown to Treggs, shouldn't have been his fault either. So that's going to happen.
The coaches notice these things.
They know it.
When they break down the film, they know where a guy's supposed to be, whether or not the quarterback threw a catchable ball, or like last week, did Bryce Treggs run the right route, and was he there when he was supposed to be there? So that's the good thing for Nate, is that when the coaches break down the film, they understand exactly the timing of every play and whether or not an interception is the quarterback's fault. Was it the offensive lineman in front of him where he didn't have time to throw the ball, or was the receiver in the right place and whether or not he caught the ball on time? I think Nate has been outstanding the first 2 games of the preseason.
Certainly, the accuracy is there. You love that. You love the decision-making is getting better, the mobility, the way he can throw on the run, the way he can extend the pocket. Very, very impressive so far. But that connection that he has with Shelton Gibson is very, very special to this point. They connected on the touchdown pass. We showed you the highlight a little bit earlier. They had the deep play down the right sideline when they were backed up in their own end zone. I mean, Shelton Gibson, you can already say that he's been the most improved player on this Eagles roster throughout the course of training camp. But the leap that he's making, it's truly special to see. And when you have guys like Alshon Jeffrey out, Matt Collins out, Nelson Aguilar out, it's great to see one of these young guys step up to the challenge, and it's been Shelton Gibson to this point.
Yeah, I realized last year Shelton Gibson couldn't get on the field till late in the year.
No, and that was special teams.
Yeah, and it took him half the year to be able to be a key contributor on that phase. But as far as being a receiver, coming out of West Virginia, the passing route concepts are so much different in that spread offense they run at West Virginia versus
go down the field
versus what he's doing here at the pros. So he had to learn how to play the wide receiver position at the NFL level. And when you're unsure of what to do on each play, you can't play at your fastest. You can't allow your natural football instincts to take over. And that's truly what hurt Shelton last year. Confidence went down. Confidence from the coaches went down in him. And then your rookie season is basically all but lost, except for being able to contribute on special teams. He's come back this year and is clearly more confident, has a better understanding of what he's supposed to do as a wide receiver at this level. And a lot of that has to be contributed to his position coaches, right? When you get that individual work with your position coach and they're breaking down the nuances of playing the receiver position at this level, you can tell that he's really soaking it all up. And he totally looks different out there. Granted, it's the preseason, but through 2 games, he's gone against first-team defenses. I mean, he's out there against Stephon Gilmore, at times against the New England Patriots, against Devin McCourty. The touchdown, not Devin McCourty, the brother. What's the Jason McCourty, I believe. He beat him for the touchdown down there, and that's a good veteran cornerback in this league. So you got to like what you're seeing out of Shelton Gibson, and for a position that seems to have an open spot, at least until Alshon is back healthy, Shelton Gibson is making the case that he wants some playing time.
Listen, to me, he's a lock to be on this roster. If there were any questions whatsoever, to me, through these first 2 preseason games, he's answered the bell. No question about that. So, a special moment on the sideline after Gibson scored his touchdown. He got a little bit of encouragement from veteran wide receiver Mike Wallace. Our cameras were there to record the interaction. We'll show that to you now in our sideline sounds.
Just keep running that the same way, bro. Every time. You've been winning on it all week. All week. That's your route right there. How you feel?
Good. What's up, do the mic? I was just holding it. Looking good. Yeah, I like it. That's still his mic.
I like it.
Great moment there on the sideline. Mike Wallace, coming in as someone who's been to the Super Bowl in his career, wants to finally win it, and is embracing and loving everything about being a Philadelphia Eagle, wants to have that connection with the fans, and I'm sure was hoping to have a highlight reel play tonight. Had one crossing route intended for him that Nick Foles got pressured. The ball went high, wasn't able to bring it in, and of course, you're not leaving the starters out there too long out there this evening. So let's talk about the defense a little bit here. I'm going to start with the cornerback position. We saw Sidney Jones work in the slot to start. Avonte Maddox got worked in there. But Ronald Darby, He's had a tremendous training camp to this point and showed early on how he was able to mirror receivers down the field, not get faked out by double moves. Truly has made leaps and bounds, in my estimation, from where he was last year to this year. Just so much more comfortable and confident playing in this defensive scheme.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised at all. I mean, when you look at his skill set, the tools that he has, he's a starting corner in this league with the ability to be a matchup corner. I mean, he is that good. You're talking about a guy who gives you, 4.3 speed. You saw him tonight. Bit on the double move because they want to be aggressive on slants, but I love the technique. That's the difference in what you saw last year. Last year, when they drove that slant route, they allowed that receiver to get around them as opposed to driving that slant route and forcing the receiver to come through them on the double move, and that's what he was able to do with the double move he got tonight. Was in great position, trail position, got his head around. I guarantee you, Ron Darby will tell you he should have 2 interceptions tonight.
Yes.
That's what's expected, and I don't mind it, but he's right there in position. You get past the fence there, and on both of those plays, he showed you that even if you get a step on him, he has the catch-up speed to get back there and be able to break up passes. I mean, it's the reason why he was a high second-round draft pick. This is a big year for him. He knows it's a contract year for him. I think the best thing for Ron Darby is that he's had a full offseason in this defense, knowing what Jim Schwartz, Corey Unlin is expecting of their cornerbacks, and now he can just play. I mean, he got here, it wasn't even at this point last year where he got here, I believe, through the trade through Buffalo, and then he was injured in the first game. Then he didn't come back until like week 9, and so he was always playing catch-up with everyone out there, and I don't think we got to see the best Ron Darby. I think you're going to see that this year because he knows exactly what's expected of him. He's highly motivated, and he knows he's going to get the challenge every week of going up against the other team's best wide receiver.
I think in the past with Ron Darby, I think he relied too much on his athleticism and didn't allow himself to learn the nuances, the techniques of the game that would take his game to the next level. But like you mentioned, Ike, he's had the entire offseason in this scheme, and talking to him, he said the biggest thing he wants to improve is the interception totals. He had 3 a year ago, and again, he only played half the season, yet that's still tied a career high for him, and he had some big interceptions down the stretch for the Eagles. The Oakland game on Christmas comes immediately to mind, but he wants to increase that total. He knows he left a bunch on the field last year, left some on the field tonight, so he's going to go back, look at the tape, and realize he's right there in position to make the play. He's getting the ball to the ground, which is obviously good, but you want to be great and be able to get the ball back for the offense and get those takeaways. So that's the one thing you want to see Ron Darby improve in the next couple of weeks heading into the regular season. Can he improve the ball skills? And it's something that, going back to your time here, Ike, Al Harris, who worked with guys like Troy Vincent and Bobby Taylor. Al Harris wasn't very good at ball skills when he first came into the league for the Eagles, but he improved on that and then was a very successful corner.
To a Pro Bowl corner.
Indeed.
No, you're exactly right. And a lot of, this isn't anything that's new to cornerbacks. They'll tell you, the old coaches will tell you, it's the reason why you're playing corner instead of wide receiver. But the great thing that you can take away from Ron Darby is that he's in position. He'll get his fair share of interceptions. Now, will he ever be a guy that's picking off 8, 9 passes a season? That's very hard to do for anyone. But he's certainly a guy that can have 5 to 7 interceptions because he's in position. You talk about the 3 he had last year, that was pretty much in half a season. And if you just look at the 2 games, really this game where he played extensive time, he was in position several times to get interceptions. He's going to get his opportunities. He knows he wants to take advantage of them.
I liked what I saw from Sidney Jones. Everyone is going to see the highlight of Cordero Patterson breaking his ankles on that pass in the flat and running right by him for the touchdown. But to me, he was in position to break up the pass on a number of other occasions, showed some tenacity in terms of getting in the backfield to make the tackle, is very willing in that regard, and that's what you're going to need to play in Jim Schwartz's scheme. You're going to need to be able to help in the run game, and I thought he showed great support in that. So I'm very encouraged by what I've seen from Sidney Jones in these first couple of games, because again, last year we only saw the one regular season game because he had the Achilles injury just before the draft. He played in the regular season finale against Dallas, showed some good things there, but had all the offseason to get himself healthy, get himself right, and has played well, in my estimation, in these first 2 preseason outings.
And he just needs more playing time. He's going to learn that when you get a big receiver like Cordell Patterson out there, you got to come up to tackle him under control. First of all, know where your leverage is on defense, know where your help is coming from, and then when you get a big receiver like that, let him make the move he wants to make, and you're right there to make the play.
All right, we're going to send it now to Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, where head coach Doug Pederson is standing by.
Yeah, number one, we'll evaluate the film, tomorrow and make a better decision and better judgments on that. But I think both of them would agree that there were plays left out on the field tonight, and something we got to clean up and keep working. So, it's a great battle between those two, and we've got a couple weeks left before we have to make these tough decisions. But we'll look at the tape and make a determination after that to see exactly how they did play.
In Nick's case, what sense do you have of the severity of the injury?
I'm sorry.
In
Nick's
what
case?
sense do you have of the severity?
Listen, I'm going to wait until I speak to my doctors tonight, tomorrow, get a good evaluation on him, and I'll definitely keep you updated as we go.
What did you think of his performance when he wasn't there?
I thought the balls were a little high early. Just a little accuracy issue, but we had some plays I think he would want back, and we'd want back as an offense, and we just got to continue to work, and it's part of the game, and we have to make the corrections, this next week and then get ready for our next one.
You guys were flagged 3 times for hitting with the helmet lower. Are you concerned now through 2 weeks? I think it's been 5 or 6 for you guys. Are you concerned about that at all?
Well, obviously, I think it's a concern league-wide, with exactly how this is going to get called. But, it's great to see because it's all teaching and coachable moments for us, especially the defensive side. And, we've got to keep educating our players, on the proper technique. And, it's something, again, we'll evaluate the film, in the morning and see exactly what's going on. But these are great teachable moments.
You mentioned that everyone's still trying to kind of adjust to the new rule. Is it hard to teach it and coach it up when you kind of don't know how it's going to be called?
It's hard because you don't go live in practice either, so it's hard to, you're just going off of game film, and try to coach off of that and show these guys these plays and continue to educate them, because you're not putting your team in live situations, anymore in camp. It's hard to really work on it, you can work all the drills you want, but until you're in the game, when things happen a lot faster, that's when you really get to find out exactly how your team is progressing in that area.
Was the plan to take Nick out there regardless, or had he not been hurt, would he have kept playing?
I think if he was healthy, he would have probably got one more series, after that. Guys, I think, had around 20, 21 plays or something like that at the time, and I was hoping to get around 25 with that first group. So, I was planning on putting him back out if I could.
Would you make it the way Nate played?
Nate? Thought Nate did some nice things. Had some really nice throws. The touchdown pass, obviously the one off the goal line, the backed up situation. And again played pretty well. It's something with the quarterbacks. You have to go back and really evaluate the tape and see progressions and see reads but I thought overall, standing here right now, thought he played pretty well.
Coach, second game, do you worry, or how do you judge overall performance? I know there's a lot of shifting personnel, but in terms of execution?
It's something we got to clean up, the execution. It's not crisp right now. But again, we got to continue to work. Guys are working extremely hard, in training camp, and obviously in these games, effort is there. We just got to really now these next couple of weeks focus on just the execution and being crisp in these next couple of games.
What's keeping Jalen Mills out right now?
He had a lower body injury and just needed some rest on it.
Same thing with Richard Rogers. What happened to him in the game?
I'll find out tonight and tomorrow, really, when we get back, and let you know. Okay. Thank you.
We are also going to hear from quarterback Nick Foles in just a little bit here, so make sure to stay tuned here on the Postgame Show presented by Ricoh. Doug didn't have too much to offer on the injury situation, terminating lower body injury. Nick Foles would be reevaluated. It's going to be a big weekend for the Eagles. I'm going to go a little off the game here for a second, Ike, because Carson Wentz and Brandon Graham and Alshon Jeffrey, all those guys are going to be reevaluated this weekend. in Philadelphia. And especially for Carson Wentz, it'll be interesting to see if the doctors will clear him to participate in 11-on-11 drills next week as they get ready for what they usually call the dress rehearsal, the third preseason game against the Cleveland Browns. You don't know if Wentz will be able to play in that game or not, but still the fact that he's more involved in team drills would be a positive sign as the team looks forward to that regular season opener on September 6th.
Yeah, much like Jason Peters, not because of age, but just because of importance, regardless of what happens with Carson as far as the medical evaluation moving forward. I'd be surprised if he played in the preseason, but we'll see about next week's game. Obviously, we're getting a chance to get ready to hear from Nick Foles coming up here in a second. Certainly interested to see how that shoulder, elbow is feeling after he had to leave the game a little bit early. You heard Doug say, had he not been injured, he was due to go out there for at least one more series. So when he was out there, it didn't look great, looked rusty. I think some of that's to be expected. Yep. He's been in and out of practice as well, dealing with some muscle spasm, things of that nature. Tonight would have been his first action since the Super Bowl, and so I guess a little bit of rust is expected, just hoping that it's not anything that's long-term that'll keep him out next week, because the last thing you want is for neither guy to have any type of real game action before they have to play the Atlanta Falcons in 3 weeks. So I thought Nick, for the most part, when he had time, made throws, but I think the rust that we saw from him is kind of expected. I think it should be expected.
I mentioned Mike Wallace earlier. I think the timing was a little off there. Again, they're trying to get that rapport, get that chemistry down. There was one pass down the right sideline, which, if the ball was better thrown, he could have had it. He should have had Wendell Smallwood on a wheel route down the left sideline. I think it was his first throw of the game, in fact. And, it was just a little off, and those things are to be expected. And you look at Nick Foles as a veteran in this league. Last season, didn't play in the preseason, as because of the elbow injury, and we saw what he was able to do down the stretch. So Doug Pederson talking about Nate Sudfeld, his performance, very, very encouraged by what he's seen from him through these first 2 preseason games. We didn't even talk about Rashard Davis's touchdown, where he did a great job of getting the safety who was too far over to the middle of the field, and Sudfeld just dropped in a dime in between a couple of defenders to get the ball there on a 31-yard score to Rashard Davis. So all across the board, a number of impressive throws from Sudfeld on the evening, and you're certainly encouraged by what the Eagles have at that quarterback position going forward, with Carson Wentz working his way back from the injury, Nick Foles and what he can bring to the offense, and of course Nate Sudfeld and the development that he's shown. So even before he looks at the tape, Coach Pederson realizes Sudfeld a nice outing for him here in the second week of the preseason.
And if I could touch on the defense just for a moment. Obviously, listen, you got Tom Brady out there playing the whole first half. This is his first preseason action. Patriots certainly wanted to get their offense going. The Eagles didn't game plan the New England Patriots.
No,
so I'm not completely discouraged by what Tom Brady and the offense was able to do against a vanilla defense. The tackling, obviously Doug touched on that with the new rule in there. It's going to take a little bit of time for all the players around the league to get adjusted to the new helmet rule. But I'll caution every fan out there who gets frustrated over the last 2 weeks when they see these flags thrown. It's not going anywhere. The league isn't going to go back to allowing big hits and things of that nature, so the players will have to adjust eventually. They're going to throw these flags. They may not throw them as frequently when the regular season begins, but they're trying to set a tone for what they are expecting. And so once you put that in the players' minds as to what's expected of them when it's time to make a hit, then you won't have to worry about those penalties. I thought Jordan Hicks had a great form tackle where he lined the receiver up, didn't lead with his head, led with his shoulder, made a great form tackle. That's what they want to see more of. I just thought the Patriots came out with their leader setting the tone, and it was important to them to have a good game offensively. They have a lot of questions up there themselves in New England offensively, so they were certainly coming out looking to get some things accomplished. I'm not totally discouraged by what we did on defense because I know we're missing a few guys, and with defenses in the preseason, if you don't game plan the opposing team's offense, you're basically out there. Yeah, exactly. They're going to beat you because all you have is your pass rush to get to them.
So when it comes to the helmet rule, your thoughts as a former player, as a fan watching the game now. To me, I think it's been pretty clear cut. I think that referees have been calling it pretty consistently, at least with the Eagles 2 games across the board. Rodney McLeod, It was pretty blatant. He went down, and it was almost like a technique that I don't know if this is ever coached, to use your head to get the ball out. It's not teach, I'm sure, by
That
coach.
was a dangerous play by McLeod.
It was a dangerous play.
And that's what they really want out of the game. And I mean, to protect him. I mean, he could have seriously, a tackle like that, leading with your head down, that could lead to spinal injuries, let alone the head trauma that can come from not looking up when you're out there to make a tackle. And I'm a former player, and listen, I made my bones in this league by being aggressive, by playing through the whistle, by making tackles that are being outlawed right now. But I'm also a parent who has a child that's playing football, and head injuries are serious, and I applaud what the NFL is trying to do, because I got to look at the game through different lenses now. I can't look at it as if it's 20 years ago. You got to look at it and have empathy and care for these players and their safety out there, and that's what the league is trying to do. We'll adjust. The players will adjust. They're good enough athletes. Just give them time. We as fans need to start realizing that we're going to have to adjust our way of thinking and our expectations when it comes to playing, particularly defense in the NFL today. What we grew up on is not allowed anymore. And they're not going back to allowing that, no matter how loud we scream and yell and tweet about our displeasure that we can't have football the way that we grew up on. It's a new day and age, and I'm happy it's a new day and age, because we are well more informed about the serious nature of head injuries and other injuries that come with this violent sport. They can't take out all the violence in the sport, but if they can limit some of it and make it a safer game for everybody involved, I think we can all appreciate that as football fans.
So you could have adjusted your game, though. If they had that rule implemented when you were playing in the late 90s, early 2000s,
players would have adjusted.
You would have adjusted. You have to. You don't have a choice at that point. Otherwise, it's coming out of your wallet at the end of the day. So you're forced to. That's the thing. So it took them a little longer to do it, and now we're seeing the result.
It'll get there. I guarantee you in a year or two, this will be a thing of the past.
To me, it would have been a problem if we're seeing 5, 6 flags and there were some questionable things. I feel like the plays that we've seen, it was McLeod tonight, Jeremy Reeves tonight, pretty clear cut. They're lowering the head and they're not looking up whatsoever, and they're using the helmet as a weapon.
And as observers and fans, we have to be fair to the officials. This isn't a rule they made up. They're doing what the league is directing them to do, and they're also trying to figure out where is that line, right? They're trying to figure out where their line at. These officials, especially the ones that have been doing it for a decade plus, they're saying to themselves, okay, that's been a regular tackle for many, many years, and now you want me to change my view of it and call it. Yes, that's what the league wants you to do, and that's what the officials they're working on themselves here in the preseason. Again, I think it's something that's being overly focused on in the preseason because they want to set a tone. I think once the season starts, they'll dial it back, but the more egregious ones, the ones that are obvious to everyone, they're going to call it. They're going to call it, and I think they should, because I think in the long run, our game is going to be safer for our kids that are coming up playing the game. You want the game to continue to grow. You want kids to continue to want to play football. You want parents to continue to allow their kids to play football because they feel safe, that it's not something that's going to leave them shorten their lives. And the game is not worth that to anybody. And so that will allow this game to continue to grow. It'll be safer for everyone, and we'll adjust. That's just what we do as human, as nature. We adapt.
All right, we're going to send it now to Foxborough, where Nick Foles is addressing the media.
Take questions for Nick.
So what happened to your shoulder?
I was getting ready to throw a deep ball, and it got grabbed as I was falling through, so it sort of got a little strained. So, was with the trainers. We'll go in. I'll go in tomorrow, get treatment on it, and sort of go from there. But it feels all right. It feels pretty good. Hopefully, there's no issues.
Is it just the shoulder, or is the elbow, or anything?
No, it's just the shoulder. It just sort of got jarred in a funny way as I was falling through, and but it feels good. We'll check it out tomorrow more thoroughly.
It looked like you were in some pain when it happened. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's fair to say. I mean, when you're falling through on a deep ball and someone grabs your arm when you're going, it's not the best feeling. So, but I feel optimistic about it, and I'm excited to get into treatment tomorrow and just get this thing moving forward.
Will there be, when you say look at it further, will it be like MRIs?
I'll let the trainers decide tomorrow morning. You know, we come in for treatment, so we'll go from there and decide what's best.
With the short time you did get a chance to play, how would you rate your performance?
Oh, it wasn't good, but at the end of the day, you know, it felt good to be back out there. It's been just to be back on the playing field. You know, getting the feel for the game, being in the huddle. You know, I missed on some throws, but I was starting to, you know, get a rhythm and get a feel back. And that takes time. That's why we have the preseason to go out there and play. And it wasn't good enough. I have to be better. But at the same time, I know what it takes to, you know, keep moving forward. The guys in the locker room know what it takes. So we have to hold each other accountable, keep moving, look at this film, improve. But I also think there's a lot of great things tonight. I think a lot of the young guys really stepped up. I thought Nate did a great job of, you know, going in there and, you know, finding a rhythm and really letting the ball fly and show what he's capable of doing. You know, guys making plays. It wasn't clean enough tonight as a team. We're a lot cleaner than that, but we'll get back to work and improve on all these things.
Did you stay in longer than anticipated just so you could try to find a rhythm, or was that the plan all along?
You know, the plan was really just, you know, however long Coach Pederson wants us to play. So, you know, that's what was going. And, you know, unfortunately, you know, I sort of had my arm grabbed and sort of had to go through that issue. But, you know, I would have liked to have put some points on the board, but, you know, with the starting crew, but we didn't. But, you know, we'll keep improving. And like I said, we know what it takes to get better, and we just have to do it.
How's that moment like at the end of the game with Brady and midfield?
I think everyone's made a big deal about it. I don't think Tom and I think, you know, there's a lot of craziness. I mean, I've always respected Tom. I've met Tom several times, and it was great to see him, you know, but like I said, I think everyone made a bigger deal because at the end of the day, you know, he's a great dude. He's a heck of a player, one of the greatest of all time. And, you know, to say hi, I mean, that's what quarterbacks do after games. I know everyone made a big deal of the Super Bowl, but, I mean, the Super Bowl is chaos after. So, but he was nice, as he always is. So, you know, I wish him the best of luck this season.
Nick, you didn't play in the preseason last year, but you weren't needed until Week 8. If you were needed in Week 1, Carson not being ready, would you be fine playing as little as you did this preseason if you weren't to play the next 2 weeks?
You know, I'm not even going to go there. We're just going to, you know, live in the moment and just sort of go day to day. So I'm going to do everything I can to get back on the field and, you know, hopefully practice the first day we get back practicing and be ready to roll.
Do you worry about in the second game about execution, overall execution? Is that a concern?
We have to execute better. You know, I have to execute better from the quarterback position. We as a team have to execute better, but you know, that's where I know all of us will look at the film. We'll get back on the practice field and we'll continue to improve. That's the great thing about this sport is it's not always going to be perfect. It's the toughest part about this sport is you want to go out there and you want to play a clean game. You want to win the game. You want to put a lot of points up. But that's where you really have to dig deep right now and just, you know, we're in preseason, we're in training camp. We have to continue to grow as a team.
With the team's status and with Carson's availability, I'm sure, would you understand if the team's a little more cautious with you because of that?
You know, I'm not really in a position to say. I'm just going to go out there and play. Whatever the, you know, team decides or what they do or not, you know, as a player, we just go out there each and every day to try to help this team become better and win. So that's really all I focus on.
Have you had this injury before?
This exact one, no. You know, I'll see more tomorrow about what's going on, but I feel really good about it.
Take a couple more if we have them.
You could see it out on the sideline, you know, after the injury. If it was regular season, I mean, do you think that could have been something you could have played through and that there's no reason to even try to in this scenario in the preseason?
You know, I don't know. It's a hypothetical situation. We felt like it was best just to shut me down at that point. Just to make sure, you know, we give a further look to make sure everything's okay. Like I said, I feel optimistic about it. So I'll find out more information tomorrow.
You stayed on the sideline the whole time. What do you think of the way Nate played?
I was very proud of Nate. I thought, you know, he went in and, you know, it's not always easy to get a rhythm, and I think that he was really doing a good job of letting him rip downfield, giving his receiver a chance. When plays were breaking down, he was doing what he could with his legs, but being as smart as he could, you know, throwing balls away at times. I thought he played really well. I think, you know, just from the point he got here last year when he came from Washington, I think, you know, he's improved like crazy, and he continues to. So it's fun he's like a little brother to me, so it's fun to see him go out there and sort of sling it around a little bit and give us the opportunity to come back.
How much would it mean to you if you are able to play another preseason game and find that rhythm that you really couldn't find?
It mean a lot. I mean, I'd be back on the playing field with the guys. So that's my goal. That's what I feel like is going to happen. But once again, you sort of have to go through the proper channels and proper protocols with all this. So I'll find out more information tomorrow and then go from there.
Thanks, Nick.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it.
There's quarterback Nick Foles saying the shoulder got jarred just a little bit, but he feels good. He will have further evaluation in Philadelphia tomorrow after the team returned from Foxborough. So cross your fingers that it's nothing significant whatsoever, but good that there was no, ice pack or anything like that as he was addressing the media. So good to see there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a quick commercial break here on the Postgame Show presented by Ricoh. We're going to have some more highlights, including Merrill Cam, the best from Merrill Reese and Mike Quick from tonight's action, and a whole lot more. So stay tuned for more coverage here on the Postgame Show presented by Ricoh.